percent of the state as conservation by 2030 and 50% by 2050. The legislative leadership did not attempt to override the veto. More on this tomorrow. This is John McClory. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Everyday Hotel. You'll be on the second floor and your other room will be on the 14th.
Wait, we asked for connecting rooms? These are 12 floors apart.
We tried, ma'am, but technically they're only 11 floors apart. We don't have a 13th floor.
We can't be 11 floors away from our kids.
I don't see a problem.
Stuart!
When you want separate rooms, but not that separate, it matters where you stay. Only Hilton offers confirmed connecting rooms at the time of booking. Hilton, for the stay.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations so you get the product you're looking for. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
My name is Joshua White, Chief Medical Officer here at Gifford.
The services that we offer range from pediatrics, where you can come to get your vaccinations, to routine care of chronic illness with high blood pressure and diabetes, to women's health and all the associated individualized needs that patients may come to us with.
Gifford's primary care team is welcoming new patients in Randolph, Bethel, Berlin, Chelsea, and Rochester. To find a provider near you, visit giffordhealthcare.org.
Join us Saturday as we conclude our year-long 90th celebration by bringing you the WDEV Lost Master Tapes, a vintage recording from 1986 featuring Banjo Dan and the Midnight Plowboys, Don Gilmore, Coco and the Lonesome Road Band, Rick Norcross and the Nashville Ramblers, and Wheeling, West Virginia's Don Williams with the Radio Rangers. Tune in Saturday at 5 o'clock on WDEV, AM and FM, and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Good luck to the farmer.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
Mac Jones is good. That's not the question. The question is he good enough to win repeatedly in this loaded AFC?
The stories that matter to you.
If I'm Xander Bogaerts, I need three things in order to get over that insulting contract offer.
This is your home for New England sports.
Jason Tatum, superstar. Book it.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show here on a Wednesday on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Short show today. We go up until 6:10. Then it's Red Sox baseball. Sox looking to get at least one game here this series against the Tampa Bay Rays. First pitch 7:10. Josh Winkowski on the mound against Shane McClanahan. I spoke to Tom Caron of Nesson earlier today. I spoke with Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio earlier today. Both those interviews will be available on the Brady Farkas Show podcast channel. You'll hear some of their commentary here on this show. Now, there is some breaking news that I just want to get to quickly. If you are a Red Sox fan, this should, one, infuriate you, and two, make you pretty happy all at the same time. The Kansas City Royals are getting set to go to Toronto to play a series with the Blue Jays, right? We know unvaccinated players cannot go to Canada. This is not something new here. Well, up until today, 25 total players across baseball, 25 total players across baseball had not been allowed to go to Canada to play the Blue Jays. So you got 30 teams, you got, take 29 because you got the Blue Jays out of it. So 29 other teams, so far 25 players in total had not been allowed to go to Canada. The Kansas City Royals have 10 players unvaccinated and not going north of the border. Why should this infuriate you if you are a Red Sox fan? Well, the Toronto Blue Jays are battling you right now, nip-tuck, for the wild card positioning. The Toronto Blue Jays are now going to be essentially given multiple easy wins against this Royals team. The Royals are losing 3 of their top 4 hitters and their best 2 pitchers in this series. They have no catchers. They have one vaccinated outfielder. And I'm not one who says, oh, the Blue Jays need to play in the States to avoid this. Everybody makes their choices. The Blue Jays have a chance to be at a competitive advantage this year. Guess what? They were at a competitive disadvantage the last 2 years when they had no home for most of the last 2 years. So I don't look here and say, oh, this is unfair. But if I'm a Red Sox fan looking at this from a purely baseball standpoint, I am infuriated that the team I am playing is now going to get multiple wins that maybe they would not have gotten before. They're going to probably sweep the Royals without their 2 best pitchers, without 3 of their best 4 hitters. I mean, you look at it, Whit Merrifield's not going. Salvador Perez is hurt. He's not saying he's unvaccinated because we don't know, but he's hurt, so he's not playing. Andrew Benintendi, their all-star, he's not going. He's unvaccinated. And then Michael Taylor, their center fielder, speed demon, he's not going. He's unvaccinated. Brady Singer, their best pitcher, he's not going. Unvaccinated. It's just from a baseball standpoint only. If you are a Red Sox fan, you should be furious here because these are games that now are going to impact the playoff race, right? When the Mariners or the White Sox go there in April, it doesn't feel like it's impacting the playoff race. When it's the middle of July and it's right before the All-Star break and the Red Sox and Blue Jays are nearly identical in the standings, now it feels like it's real. Now it feels like it's impacting you. And it's one thing when you impact yourself like Jarren Duran or Tanner Howe. It's another thing when you see something happening on the outside and you have no control over it. So that should infuriate you as a Red Sox fan. The thing that should make you happy is that there's no way now the Yankees can trade for Andrew Benintendi, right? There's no way. Andrew Benintendi, if you are a Red Sox fan who, A, just does not want to see Benintendi wear a Yankees uniform, or B, just don't want to see the Yankees get better by adding Benintendi, you can't trade for Benintendi now if you're New York, can you? I mean, unless you get an assurance that he's going to get vaccinated, you can't trade for him. And that would be very good news for the Red Sox fans. You don't want to see the Yankees get better. You don't want to see Benny wear those ugly pinstripes. So this one is a breaking news story. 10 Royals unvaccinated, not going to play the Blue Jays. It impacts the playoff race, but Benintendi doesn't end up going to New York, I'm sure, out of this. Again, unless he gives an assurance that he's going to get vaccinated. We got some stuff on the Red Sox, some stuff on the Patriots as well. You can get in Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line 802-585-3026. It's your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, my Twitter account, all of them are open.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show were brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They are online at sticksandstuff.com. You know, right now, we should be talking about Chris Sale's return. This show should be leading with Chris Sale's return. But we're not. And that is so frustrating. Instead of talking about Sale, we're talking about just another game that the Red Sox gave away. The Red Sox now have 19 blown saves this season. That's the second most in baseball. The Red Sox last night threw the ball all over the yard in the 6th inning. The Red Sox got picked off third base. The Red Sox got beat by a lineup featuring a bunch of so-so players or players that you've never heard of. Last night was unacceptable. To lose that game that way to that lineup. Look, Taylor Walls and Yu Chang and Brett Phillips hitting 7, 8, 9 for the Rays, and you lost to them. You cannot lose to that lineup. You just can't. And you can't lose to that team twice in a row because the Rays threw out a lackluster lineup to you on Monday night and you lost. And you can't lose those games in advance of when you have to face Shane McClanahan, the guy who probably should start the All-Star game for the American League, a guy who has an ERA of 1.73. So you lost 2 games to a division rival. You lost 2 games to a rival in the wild card race. You lost 2 games to a subpar lineup, and you lost 2 games in advance of a game you knew was going to be next to impossible going in. The Red Sox here are now in a position to have lost the first 3 of this series and get beaten again by an AL East rival. The Red Sox are a good team. I believe that. That is why last night is so frustrating, because last night's version of the Rays just is not better than you. I expect so much more from this Red Sox team than what we saw last night. Another blown save, multiple errors. It is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And after the game, I appreciate Alex Cora taking the rap, taking the fall for Alex Verdugo getting picked off third base. I do, but he shouldn't have to do it.
Yeah, you know what? We play a little bit different today, and that's on me. You know, if anything, you know, we don't play that brand of baseball. But you know, with the personnel we had and where we were in the inning, and the guys that were available and were not, you know, we were trying to advance runners, and you know, he got picked up. You know, my job is to put guys in situations to be successful, and we haven't played this brand of baseball in a while, and maybe you know, that's on me right now.
Sure, you haven't played small ball in a while. Okay. And I appreciate Alex Cora doing that, standing up for his guys. But guess what? Last night was still baseball. There was still baseball common knowledge that should have been had and wasn't. Alex Verdugo is a multi-year pro. He should just know inherently that when you have a safety squeeze on, the bunt needs to be gotten down before you start dancing off of third base, and you need to get back to the bag. He should know that. So when Cora says, oh, we haven't played this way in a while, so be it. I could go out in the men's league this week and know that. Hey, safety squeeze, I'm not moving until the ball gets down, and if it doesn't get down, I'm getting back to the bag. I'm not hanging out. Franchi Cordero should know how to get the ball back into the infield without throwing it all over the yard. You don't need Alex Cora's help with that kind of stuff. Like, mental mistakes, mental lapses cannot undo you. If a team is just better, or a pitcher is just better, like McClanahan will be tonight, that's one thing. But to beat yourself, you can't do it. And you really can't do it against this team in this situation. You shouldn't have lost the game. You lost a game in the standings you shouldn't have lost. You're now trailing the Rays when you shouldn't be in the wild card race, and another series against an AL East opponent that you haven't won. The Red Sox are now 11-22 within their division, and you can't get to the playoffs pulling a .333 winning percentage against your division. You just can't. Last night, 6th inning, bad baseball. Not in a playoff race. This is a playoff race. This is the middle of July. There's less than half the schedule left. You have the hardest schedule remaining. You cannot afford to give games away that were wins. You're going to lose games later in the year just because your schedule is so hard. You can't be giving away wins, and you gave away a win last night. Text from Phil in Middlesex, who says, trade Xander Bogaerts. This team isn't going anywhere. Phil, I don't want to trade Xander Bogaerts. I think that this Red Sox team is worth investing in, not breaking down at this point. They're still right there. It's why last night was so frustrating. They're still good, and they're going to get better. Sale was good. Waka's coming back. Whitlock's coming back this weekend. Evaldi's coming back this weekend. They're going to make some kind of move at the deadline. This is the time to make yourself better, not worse. So, no, I'm not trading away Xander Bogaerts. I want to compete, and I think that they can. I think they're better than Seattle. I know they're better than Baltimore. They're better than the White Sox right now. They can make the playoffs and do damage when they get there, but they've got to win games like last night in order to get there. And if I was going to sell, I'd be selling J.D. Martinez a whole lot quicker than selling Xander Bogaerts. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Buster was spot on last night about Chris Sale. He seemed dialed in. And a separate note, fundamentals shouldn't be an issue in July. I agree completely. Unfortunately, the Red Sox have dropped too many games this year to subpar teams. It just won't get it done. They have dropped too many games to subpar teams. Getting beat by the Reds in that one game. I know it was one, but they got beat by the Reds when the Reds were awful. They got beat by Baltimore multiple series when the Orioles were awful prior to the O's being good. They've been beaten by the White Sox. They got swept by the White Sox in Chicago, and right now the White Sox are not good. I mean, who else we got that I'm missing here off the top of my head who the Red Sox have struggled against that was no good this year? I mean, they got pummeled by the Angels early in the year. Angels were good then, I give them that. But the Angels are going to end up being not very good. You just can't have it. You cannot have last night. On the positive, it was Chris Sale. Okay, there are no moral victories in this. You needed to win last night. You needed to hold on to that game. So I don't take a moral victory, but Chris Sale was good. In fact, he looked really good. And he looked a lot better. Not a lot. He looked better than I anticipated. The velocity was better. I told you last night I thought he'd be 93, 94 miles an hour consistently. He was 95, 96 a lot. The velocity was good. He was hitting 97 in his final inning in the fifth. Slider had good break. He threw the changeup, which had good velocity to it and good movement. He threw all his pitches like we said he had to. I like that. But more importantly, I loved Sale's demeanor and his attitude. He was walking around last night like he owned the mound, like he was Chris Sale, like he was the Chris Sale of old. I don't know if Chris Sale right now is built to last. I have no idea what we'll get for the rest of the year. I don't know if he can do what he did last night 12 more times and starts plus 4 or 5 more in the playoffs. I don't. But I've said all along, I think he's going to be a factor. And when he is a factor, the Red Sox are significantly better. Now, Sale has a big detractor in John Tomasi of NBC Sports Boston. Even he was impressed.
A lot better than I was expecting. You know, my thing last week when he was smashing up AAA dugouts was, I wonder if he is not confident in his stuff. That wasn't the case tonight. This is the best he has looked since you can go back to maybe that 17 strikeout game against the Rockies early in 2019.
Definitely better than I thought. 100% better than I thought. No, I take that back. 100% better than I thought. Again, I told you I thought he'd be fine. But he just looked better. The results are the results, but his actual look was better than I expected. He threw strikes, 53 strikes, 25 balls, more than 2-1, perfect ratio. 12 of 19 on first pitch strikes, that's 63%. That's right around the 65% mark that all the analytics people covet. So he was around the zone, had the velo, worked quick, had the demeanor on the mound. I liked everything I saw from Sale last night for the most part. For the most part, I liked everything I saw. A text comes in from Marco in Warren. What did you see in Bayo? Do you think he's the real deal? Was this just a bump in the road, or is he overhyped? We can't say he's overhyped. He's made 2 starts in the majors after making someone can check on this, something like 5 starts in AAA. I mean, this is a guy who has not been at the upper levels of the minors ever, and then just got thrust to the majors because he had to, because the team was so depleted. So for Bayo, he belongs at AAA right now. He got a taste of the majors. He can know what he needs to work on, but I think he is the real deal. And I think next year, the Red Sox rotation battle is going to be fascinating. The Red Sox have a lot of arms, right? Sale's there next year. Pavetta's there. Beyond that, what do you do? Bayo might be ready to step in and be a starter every 5th day. Winkowski, Seabold, then what? Evaldi, Rich Hill, Walker, they're all free agents. Are you letting them all walk? Are you bringing any of them back? Then there's actual free agents that are on the market next year. Then there's trade targets. So the next year is a fascinating rotational year for the Red Sox and what they do. Bayo could be a part of it, and he's going to get a chance to be a part of it. He's the best pitching prospect the Red Sox have had in the entire time that I've been here. I did speak with Tom Caron, right? Tom Caron, a Red Sox insider at NESN, and we talked about how the news was pretty good on Chris Sale. The news is not good on Kike Hernandez, who has shut down his rehab.
He's been completely shut down. It won't be anytime soon. I would safely assume that a best case scenario is you're talking well into August before any kind of return from him. If he's not doing anything today and he's still just on the way to see the specialist.
So the news not good on Kike, and that's noteworthy for a few different reasons. One, just Kike not being there, right? Kike's a good baseball player. Big part of what they have done over the last year and a half. Runs well, very good defensively, good energy, was a spark in the playoffs, hit for a bunch of power. So Kike not being there is noteworthy because it's one less good player around. Two, it means the Kike, Duran, Refsnyder triumvirate we've been so worried about just isn't an issue. Duran can stay, and Refsnyder can stay. It also means, because he's going to stay, Duran's going to play more, and Duran hasn't been very good lately. He's 1 for his last 20. So that's also noteworthy. Duran is here, and he's 1 for his last 20. And then Kike is now untradeable. We had talked about Kike maybe being an asset to go fetch you something at the deadline, and he is now untradeable because of this injury. He's not going to get moved. So it's noteworthy there on a bunch of different fronts. Again, Tom Caron's interview, Freddie Coleman's interview, available on our podcast channel on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We'll step aside briefly, and I mean like 60 seconds kind of brief. We'll get into the Patriots. They traded away N'Keal Harry to the Chicago Bears. I'm happy for both sides. There's really only two things that matter to me moving forward. That's next on DEV.
QC Kinetics patient Robert Patterson, a veteran and business owner, struggled at work and in the gym with chronic agonizing shoulder pain.
Those injuries just continue to nag, and if you don't treat them, they just get worse. And I just kind of abused my body for a long time, and it finally had said enough is enough.
That's okay, because QC Kinetics tells your pain, hey, enough is enough. Their regenerative treatments bring you relief by helping restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and best of all, no surgery.
I was able to exceed the goals that I had previously attained in the gym. It was absolutely worth its weight in gold, so I could continue to live life without limitation.
Ready to get lasting relief from your joint pain? Call QC Kinetics to learn more about how natural biologic treatments can get you lasting results. Call now. It's a free consultation.
802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS. QC Kinetics. 802-PAINLESS. Treatments are not yet FDA approved.
WDEV at 90 is underwritten by Northfield Savings Bank. They're the bank of you and everything you do at nsbvt.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Celebrating 90 years. WDEV.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Patriots traded N'Keal Harry yesterday, the embattled wide receiver and former first-round pick. They send him to the Chicago Bears for a 7th-round pick in 2024. And honestly, the trade is good for both sides, and I'm happy for both sides. I'm not in the business of piling on athletes unnecessarily. We do our job in the media. We give you our opinions. We tell it honestly. And then there is a point where it's no longer productive to keep going back to the well. That's where I'm at with N'Keal Harry. Yes, he was a bust. He was bad in Foxborough. What happened here was embarrassing from a performance standpoint. And yes, the list of good wide receivers taken after him is huge. N'Keal Harry in Foxborough was a flop. But I am over that discussion. There is no need to go back to it over and over again. For me, there are a handful of things that matter now, and that is it. 1, good that the Patriots got something for him. 2, good for N'Keal Harry. He didn't want to be here anymore. 3, why did all this happen? Why was Harry a flop? And 4, how can we make sure it doesn't happen again? That is it. If you want to tell him, I'm not going to break down to you why N'Keal Harry was bad. Okay? He couldn't gain separation. He couldn't run this route. The offense was too hard. I'm not doing that. I'm interested in those 4 things. 1, good that the Patriots got something for him. N'Keal Harry was going to get cut. So the fact that they got anything at all is beneficial. Okay, I know a 7th-round pick in 2 years isn't very good. Phil Perry, our friend at NBC Sports Boston, he called the return laughable.
It's not alarming because he's been so bad over the course of the last few years, but the return it's almost laughable. I mean, I'm actually surprised they got anything for him, but it's a 7th-round pick 2 years from now. And the way the NFL works is they devalue those things as time goes on. So it's about as small a return as you could get.
Yes, the return, it might be laughable, but it was something. Okay, N'Keal Harry was not making this team. We have talked about the depth on this roster at wide receiver. N'Keal Harry wasn't making him. Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, Tyquan Thornton, Trey Nixon, Christian Wilkerson, Matthew Slay, they're all ahead of Harry. Okay, they are all ahead of Harry. So N'Keal Harry wasn't making this team. The fact that you got something for him at all, that is a benefit. 2, I am now happy for N'Keal Harry. He can now move on. He did not want to be here. He played last year after requesting a trade, and I give him credit. Okay, his representation gave him very bad advice last summer when he asked to be traded. Very bad advice. But he played when he was healthy, and he gave it his all. He did. Okay, the performance wasn't great. He's not a particularly good player, at least in New England, but he did give it his all last year, and while he was playing, I got to give him credit for that. He had a very big catch last year late in the season. I'm trying to figure out exactly where it was. Here it was. I think this is the Saturday night game against the Colts.
4-man rush. Jones heaves it, going deep for Harry. He's got it! A big one to N'Keal Harry. There's a penalty flag back near the quarterback. Hang on. Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 97. Defense, half the distance of the goal will be added to the end of the play automatically. First down. So a 43-yard gain on Harry, and then add on the roughing penalty.
Yeah, so that was that game against the Colts back on December 20th of last year. So while he was here, he tried hard. And this is not Little League. There's got to be more than that. But, again, I'm not piling on the guy. So, made a handful of plays. He gets a chance to start anew now. The Bears are a rebuilding team. The Bears have maybe the worst roster in the NFL. They have probably the worst receiver room in the NFL. He gets a chance to go there where he's not necessarily going to get forced out of the rotation. He can actually get on the field consistently. He can get an opportunity to grow. He gets a chance to play with an emerging quarterback again in Justin Fields. There aren't a million options ahead of him. See the field with some regularity. It's good for him as well. It's good for the Patriots to cut bait. It's good for the Patriots to get something. And it's good for Harry to get an opportunity. 3, why did this happen? Okay, why did this happen? And then subsequently, how do we make sure it doesn't happen again from a Patriots perspective? I think this happened to N'Keal Harry for a lot of different reasons. I am not in the business of giving out excuses to athletes, but let's recognize that N'Keal Harry had a lot of bad luck here in Foxborough. This isn't like he got himself in trouble or he came in out of shape. This isn't that. N'Keal Harry ran into some real bad luck. He's got some legitimate reasons why things didn't go his way. He got drafted in 2019, first preseason game against Detroit, immediately got hurt. Missed the first 8 games of the season. I don't think we saw him until week 10. And at that point, Tom Brady had 0 time for him. Tom Brady is in it for championships. He's not out to help rookies. He was about Edelman and Mohamed Sanu and James White and the guys that were veterans on that team, he had no time for N'Keal Harry. So Harry got nothing out of his rookie year. He gets injured, misses all the time with Brady, and Brady passes him by as the season goes on. So his rookie year is a washout. Then 2020, I'm reading the stories. He's working out with personal coaches. He's running routes. He's getting better. And boom, COVID. Boom, COVID happens. Everything shut down. He's still able to work out on his own, but he's not flying around the country. He's not meeting with this coach and that coach all over the place. He's not going to the Patriots facility. He's not getting time with the wide receivers coach. He's not getting one-on-one in the building with Josh McDaniels. He's not meeting with the quarterback. And, Tom Brady leaves. We don't even know who the quarterback is. Then everything is so tightly run in the COVID season, he's not getting extra reps after practice. You all told me that Cam Newton's terrible. That's his quarterback, and he's not getting extra reps with him. Then 2021, rookie quarterback, run first team, not a lot of opportunities there. He gets hurt in preseason again last year. He's out a bunch early. Like, nothing has gone well for N'Keal Harry in Foxborough. So when you look for why this happened to him, those are the reasons, as far as I'm concerned. It's not as simple as N'Keal Harry sucks. He's physically gifted. He's young and athletic. There are things on the football field he could have done. He had that 40-yard catch. He had a back shoulder catch from Brady against Dallas in the rain in his rookie year. He has the ability to do some good things. It never happened for him consistently here because all these things went against him. And maybe in Chicago, things won't go against him, and maybe they'll go his way. Yes, N'Keal Harry was a bust. I'm over talking about it. Pats did well to move on. Harry does well to go to a place that maybe he has a little more value. And I think he had a real bad string of luck here in Foxborough. The question is, for me, how do the Patriots make sure this doesn't happen again? How do you make sure you don't have Tyquan Thornton be the next N'Keal Harry? We'll talk about that after the CBS National News Update on WDEV AM and FM.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Facet Wealth.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. Soaring inflation continues to weigh on consumers as rates hit another record high last month.
It's definitely tough, but personally, it just means I have to manage my spending better.
That's the case for many of Americans as prices on food, gas, and rent go up. CBS's Jill Schlesinger.
This high rate of inflation, combined with a solid June jobs report, really does keep the Federal Reserve on track to raise interest rates by another 0.75% at its next meeting on July 27th.
President Biden's now touring the Middle East and was interviewed today on Israel's Channel 12. He says former President Trump made a gigantic mistake pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal, and he's faced pressure to come up with a new plan.
I still think it makes sense. We've laid out on the table, we've made the deal, we've offered it, and it's up to Iran now.
Dozens are still unaccounted for in Virginia, where overnight storms caused flash floods.
One of the biggest challenges for us for the search and rescue effort is access to the area. A lot of roadways are blocked by landslides, bridges. The approaches to those bridges are washed out.
More than 100 homes were damaged. Hundreds of people rallied in Washington today for stronger gun laws.
No other country experiences this. It is only the United States, and it's because of one thing: access to guns, and in particular, access to assault weapons, weapons of destruction, of war. We must ban assault weapons.
In Akron, Ohio, a day of mourning.
Hundreds gather for the funeral of Jayland Walker, including his best friend, Dupree Watley.
I used to call Jayland almost all the time, and I can't call him anymore when I'm going through some things.
Walker was shot more than 60 times by police officers at the end of a vehicle and foot chase. He was not armed when he was shot, but authorities said Walker had fired a shot from his car 40 seconds into the chase. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation is investigating the shooting. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News.
The FDA has issued an emergency use authorization for Novavax's COVID vaccine. It would be the fourth shot available in the U.S. to help combat the virus. And there seems to be some confusion over contraceptives now following the Supreme Court's ruling on abortion. CBS's Alexander Tin.
The Federal Department of Health and Human Services has published new guidance warning pharmacies that are refusing to fill prescriptions that can be used for birth control or medical abortions that they may be in violation of federal civil rights laws. For example, the Biden administration says that pharmacies cannot refuse to fill prescriptions for mifepristone and misoprostol to manage a miscarriage just because those two drugs can also be used to end a pregnancy.
This is CBS News.
Facet Wealth is an SEC-registered investment advisor. They offer customized financial planning for you, not just your assets. Learn more at cbsaudio.com/Jill.
How well does your garden grow? Tune in Saturdays at 12:30 for In the Garden with Peter Burke. Peter and co-host Joel Nashman give you one full hour of the latest news, helpful tips, and your calls to talk about what's happening in your garden. It's brought to you in part by Montpelier Agway, your locally owned Montpelier Agway, East Montpelier Road. In the Garden with Peter Burke, live Saturdays at 12:30. Hear the podcast anytime at WDEVradio.com.
Being present and in the moment for family activities was impossible because Will Burt was so focused on the constant pain in his leg.
My wife likes to take walks. I always kind of dreaded going on walks because they hurt. The boys both play baseball. I coach their teams. I was going to do them and be in pain and be uncomfortable and kind of sacrifice my own health.
An old Achilles injury left Will coping with agonizing pain until he discovered the natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics. No surgery or steroids. The procedure took place in the office, and Will walked right out.
I feel great. There's no pain. There's no tenderness.
Patients like Will are feeling amazing and living their best lives.
Ironically, just got off the golf course today, so I think that's a good telltale sign that the Achilles is feeling better.
Don't be in pain another day. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS. QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. Treatments are not yet FDA approved.
The afternoon news service is every single weekday at 4 p.m. right here on WDEV. It's news, it's business, it's sports that you care about. We talk to our local experts from all around the state, looking at every sector to keep you informed and up to date on the latest news that you need to be aware of. The afternoon news service every single day at 4 p.m. right here on the Friendly Pioneer, WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com, and streaming on the WDEV radio app.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox lineups coming up momentarily. Sox getting ready for the Rays, game 3 of 4 from the Trop. Sox looking to get their first win in this 4-game set. They'll take on the star lefty, Shane McClanahan. We were talking about N'Keal Harry and the parts of the conversation that I care about now when it comes to N'Keal Harry is, yes, N'Keal Harry was a bust. The Patriots have drafted Tyquan Thornton this year in the second round. High draft capital on a wide receiver. How do they make sure that Tyquan Thornton does not become another N'Keal Harry? How do they do it? Because that's the part of the story that matters now. What did the Patriots do or not do that hurt Harry, and what can they do or not do to help Thornton at this point? The short answer is you can never be sure that you're not going to have a bust on your hands, right? You can never be sure that you're not going to repeat the N'Keal Harry mistake. Drafting is an inexact science. It's hard. It's imperfect. You never really know. But I think the Patriots can do things to help Thornton be successful. One, I think Mac Jones being here will help Thornton be successful. Of course, it's not, it's not a true slight on Tom Brady, but Tom Brady, as I said, he doesn't have time for rookies. Mac Jones is a young guy. He's naturally going to gravitate to these young players. He's going to be more likely to get along with them, and he's going to be more likely to go out of his way to bring them into the fold. So N'Keal Harry never really got that attention from Tom Brady. I think Tyquan Thornton is going to get it from Mac Jones. I think that's important. I think this is a Patriots wide receivers room that is together and accommodating as well. Okay, Devontae Parker is new. He's not going to alienate Thornton. He wants to make a good impression, so he's going to be accommodating. Jacoby Myers has always been accommodating. Kendrick Bourne seems to be great for team chemistry. So the guys in that room, I think, will be able to bring Tyquan Thornton into the fold in a way that maybe Harry didn't get in the past when Antonio Brown was on that team and Edelman was on that team. And I think Edelman's a good guy, but he's Brady's guy. Then you look at other guys. I just think this unit is more together. And then I think the Patriots coaches, again, who's not Josh McDaniels, who McDaniels is Brady's guy, these coaches need to find a way to get a use for Tyquan Thornton. I think the opportunities are there. You never know that he's not going to become the next N'Keal Harry. But there are things they can do to make it better for him than what happened for Harry here as well. Mac, I think, will be better. The receiver room, I think, will be pretty good. And this team will be able to go out. I think the coaches have to make a concerted effort to get Thornton involved because Harry became an afterthought after all the injuries. Someone wants to know if I'm starting pitching tonight baseball. No men's league baseball today. No men's league baseball today. Men's league baseball only on Sundays. The Red Sox are a half game behind the Rays now. Josh Winkowski on the mound, 3-3 with a 4.35. Shane McClanahan, 9-3 with a 1.73 for Tampa. Rob Refsnyder leads off in right. Rafi Devers at third. JD Martinez is back at the DH spot. Xander Bogaerts at short. Alex Verdugo's in left. Christian Vasquez is the catcher. Bobby Dahlbeck's at first. Jeter Downs is at second. Jackie Bradley's in center. You notice no Jarren Duran against the lefty. No Trevor Story. He's hopefully doesn't need an IL stint, but he said he did get hit right on the knuckle last night. Yandy Diaz is at third for the Rays. G-Man Choi at first. Harold Ramirez, the right fielder. Isaac Paredes at second. Jonathan Aranda, the DH. Randy Arozarena is the left fielder. Taylor Walls at short. Josh Lowe in center. Francisco Mejia is the catcher, and he bats ninth. Tom Karen and Freddie Coleman interviews available on the Brady Farkas Show podcast channel. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. Big show tomorrow. I can't give it away yet, but you'll see it on my social media channels. Go Sox.